Namaste Janta. Welcome to our podcast Good Old Days. Today we are talking to a 2005 graduate from IIT Kharagpur, a solutions architect manager for Paradigm 4, a MS and PhD from Virginia Tech, and years of experience in big data, AI, and ML. And if all this is not enough, he is also an author. He has published a book on launching your creative career. The book is titled The Creative Side Hustle. You can find it on Amazon. He has also been writing a successful blog. Now I think it's been 11 years, and I think, 11 years. Wow, that's some discipline. He blogs on unconventional career and whatnot. You can find all his writing at his website gohatke.com. And I am privileged to host Kriti Sen Sharma today and very excited to bring his story to you. Hi Kriti, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Neha, thanks so much for having me.
Yes. So, Kriti, you are an author, a blogger with a background in big data, AI, and ML, with degrees like MS and PhD. I'm just wondering what's next for you.
Okay. So thanks for the lovely introduction. What's next? As I see, I have two personas that you are portraying over here. One is my professional persona, where I am working, and because I am lucky or somehow I always try to join these amazing companies. At least right now, I'm in a very nice company where the work is challenging, where people are very nice. So that part of what's next is taken care of. You just by dint of being in this amazing place, amazing organization, something exciting is always coming up. So that's on that side. The other side of my persona that we are portraying here is the my side hustle persona, where, as you mentioned, I self-published a book last year, and also I've been blogging more or less frequently. What is next is I'm trying to think of ways in which I can bring these two together. So one is my technical side, and one is my writing side. So the next project that is currently in very early phase, an idea phase, is where I want to merge some tech and some of these goals of writing, especially in the self-help domain, and bring out something. So I'm just working on ideas in collaboration with some people, some very bright people, and that's the
Okay,
plan. Yeah.
okay. And I'm curious to know what you have written in your book because I'm also trying to launch my creative career in some way. So please tell us what is there in the book.
Okay. All right. So self-help books. So I have benefited a lot from self-help books because as you grow in your career, you don't get access to that many mentors or that many new types of thoughts. I have benefited a lot from books, especially self-help books. Now, when I will start, this concept that I have in my book is about you have this professional career that you enjoy. That is also important. You can't be in some place that you don't like. So there's something that you like, you're doing well, and but there is something at the back of your mind that reminds you that you also have this other passion. It might be, in my case, writing, in some other person's case, music, somebody's case, it could be speaking or public engagement, something that you're passionate about, but it doesn't line up with your professional career. So the idea was that how do you pursue it? So in my case, instead of like in most self-help books, they start with the fact that I am this amazing success in this story. Now you see my story. I flipped it around and said I'm going to tell the story as it is going along. So as I am developing my side hustle, writing side hustle, even my blog started in that fashion. I have basically shown how to start from nothing. So my first chapter is called Start Shitty. Make a shitty start. So it's like don't worry how bad you are. Just start, because most of the times we are actually putting some labels on ourselves that we are not that good, and so I could tell more about the book if you want, but that's the premise, and that's what I develop on in the book. How do you start from zero to a sufficient stage?
Yes, I think that sounds like a great book for all the creative hustlers out there. especially if you are doing a full time job, when you are busy all day. So then it's very important how do you manage your day and start working on your creative side as well. So yeah, it was good to know about the book and good to meet the author Kriti. Now we will meet the college student Kriti. You were quite good at academics. You were able to maintain a good CGPA grades, and at the same time, you were quite active in extracurricular activities in your social life as well. So, how were you able to juggle between these two? I know that you were a literary secretary also at Gymkhana. So, was there any impact on your grades or in your academic life because of your extracurricular activities?
No. Okay, so yeah, so then let's clarify on one side this, also for people who are listening in not from Kharagpur, the idea. Let's define the term stud. Kharagpur, what is a stud in Kharagpur? Typically, it is somebody who is excelling both in ACADS as well as some extracurricular activity. So in my case, it was more on the social cultural side and ACAD. So I was a stud, real stud in the first semester of IIT. So that is when I could be termed a stud, and because I had gotten 9 point something in my first semester grades, and I was active in everything. I was not really talented in any particular music or drama, any particular thing. I was just there in many things, and I was literary secretary not of Gymkhana but of my first year hall. So that
Okay.
entailed some responsibilities, and so yeah, the first year it was actually it was just a continuation of my persona in high school, where I was managing ACADS as well as my extracurricular activities. This same kind, these same kind of just being involved in so many things. Maybe hosting, being the master of ceremonies at our school functions. I would continue that in Kharagpur in some fashion. Yeah. So that is how it was not really a difficult, because that was what I used to do in school. I would just make sure to go to classes, and then also just make sure to go to all the events that I was active in, and just being there. Yeah.
Okay, so you were kind of enjoying this both the involving in both the part, right? Academics as well as extracurricular activities. There was no stress as such.
Yeah. So then we come to the stress part. So first year, first semester, I was a stud. Second year, no, first year, second semester, my grades dropped from 9.0 to 7 point something, and
Okay.
that is when the stress started coming in. That I figured during my second semester at Kharagpur that I am not being able to manage the two very well. In school, it was not that difficult.
Mhm.
And I think about it later that
Mhm.
in school, it was more like, the teachers were in charge of extracurriculars also. So they would place the extracurriculars at the time when exams were not there. And when exams were there, you would just completely context switch to exams. So that context switch helped. But at Kharagpur, there were teachers, and then there was extracurriculars. There was ACADS and extracurriculars. They had no, like, there was no timing difference between the two. The stress started building up in my
Mhm.
second semester. Also,
Mhm.
I would say one thing, you are you're new to this kind of environment where you're living away from your original social structure. For me, I had stayed at home forever, and with my parents.
Mhm.
Schooling was from Kolkata. Uh, Everything that that there was a certain social support all the time. When you went to Kharagpur, you have to figure out all those things. So I had a like one good friend. I was somehow that seemed to be an anchor for me, who was also from Kolkata. But in the second semester, he somehow went to different things. Sort of, we just sort of drifted apart, and for various reasons. And that was also a lack of social support was also there, and this whole led to
Mhm.
you know this stress that came up, that there's ACADs to be done, there's extracurriculars that I want to do. You miss that social support. It was a stressful time. Yeah, I was still a stud,
Yeah.
but then I had to make hard decisions later on. Yeah.
Yeah, but that stress is real.
Yeah.
I understand that. Yeah. So you were chosen for contesting for the post of General Secretary, Social and Culture in your second year, right? So you were like the Neo of Matrix, the one chosen by Morpheus. But that didn't go well. So what happened there? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. All right. So that's an interesting chapter in my Kharagpur life. So again, for people from outside Kharagpur, the concept is first year you are at least that time. First year you are in a hostel or a hall where you are all amongst the first year freshers, and then you are assigned a second year hall, and that is when you interact with seniors. That is when the real Kharagpur life really begins. And in my case, I had gotten into Patel Hall, which was uh, notorious that time as a hall where you are really you're going to be really scared of the seniors. They maintained this image of very very um, seniors that looked they had that aura about them that you were scared when you went in. I hope Patel still maintains that. Then I went in there, and I was, as I said, somewhat known in the Kharagpur circles, and because I was participating in many activities, I was pretty well known amongst my first year circle. So seniors picked up on that. So the seniors then some of them they suggested that you have this uh, capability that we can make you um, you know some post holder in the gymkhana. So I was post holder in my first year hall. Then the thing was that now you can think of becoming a post holder in the gymkhana, which is a very nice well known position. So that was there, and then I got into the Spring Fest publicity team. There is A team and P team. I went into the P team, and that is also a selection process, a nomination process within the hostel. Really, they only send forward the candidates. So I said, and actually there was a bit of indecision there also. I was already thinking, how do I maintain both? Senior said, you look like somebody who can do it, and you definitely are a potential GSEC candidate. So do it. And there were some seniors who were like, who just it's amazing, right? The seniors, they know you for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at that time in the hostel, and they just vouch for you. They have amazing belief, and it's just fantastic. And then I a little bit of indecision at the beginning of second year in my very early in
Mhm.
Patel Hall, and I joined the A team P team. So that was the beginning, and then yeah, I mean, I'll take a break and if you have any questions, I'll answer. Then I'll continue.
Yeah, please continue. So
Okay.
why, like, what happened there?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So then the story
Hmm.
goes like this. So second year, electronics department. So it is amongst the top ranked. So pressure is always there. So I went with a 9 plus 7 ka average karke I went into electronics. So I'm still top what say 30% of my class, top 20-30% of my class. For electronics, then there is this stream of people who do department change. So they have been
Hmm.
studying all their first year. They are very, very motivated. They want to do the department change. So they come in with 9.5 or something CGPA, first year CGPA. Your 6 or 7 people or 10 people come in. Your rank slides down that much. Basically, it's not so much about the this thing. It's mainly that electronics was a pretty competitive department. Not that people are always uh, always talking about studies, but just by being one of the top departments in Kharagpur, uh, there was
Hmm.
competition, and for me to do well there was I had to put in effort. So second year, I remember feeling that I'm entering a department. There is this pressure to perform, and then on the other hand, I am being nominated by my hostel seniors, and then also by the Gymkhana A team P team. They have selected me into this team, so I am now part of that Springfest core committee, which has its own responsibilities. So second year was this phase where I found I'm doing classes in the morning pretty early on to labs and all that. Then after a bit of break, around 7 8 p.m., I have to go to Gymkhana. And gymkhana, there is, you would go after dinner, you would stay till 11 at least, something like that. And then so there's acads, there's gymkhana. Then on top of that, there are hall activities. There's, and your friends are doing that. You don't want to miss that. Only 3 or 4 are going to the gymkhana, but many friends in the hostel, they're participating in different things, starting from dance competition for, inter-hall dance competition or dramatics. These are things I just sort of, I'm not like a great dancer or a great, theater person, but I would just, be involved in some way. Then came illumination. Illumination, everybody is involved, and I did a lot of activities in first year illumination. I was, in the core design committee. I was presenter of the Rangoli. So I was, I wanted to do that, but there's this huge pull of time, and teach, and the seniors in hostel are like, no, no, just because you go to gymkhana, you can't say no to hall activities. You have to do the hall activities too. And what do you think? You're not. Are you very special or something that you won't do all these things? So there was pressure.
Stud.
The stud thing is there, and there is this. Do you think you are just too privileged that just because you went to gymkhana you can skip hall activities? I think the major reason is that if you show you're skipping, then there are so many people who don't want to do the hall activities, and they will see examples of people skipping, and then there are more reasons for them to skip. If everybody goes, then no people can't say no. And I actually like to do it, but just that at that time I was not being able to manage these things. So another KGP term is makhau. Yeah, makhana. Like you're not doing well. Makha rahe hain.
Yeah.
So I was makha raha tha in ACADS. I got another 7 in my third semester, and that's a very high weightage semester. That grade carries forward a lot. Then I was going to A-team, P-team meetings, doing the work, but not doing well. So the makha raha tha usme bhi. Hall activities mein bhi makha raha tha. So I was not doing, I was just being there, but sometimes not managing well. There was, stress building up. I'm not doing well, and I can't manage everything. So I was like, okay, I was like, seniors, I can't do everything. I have to take away, I have to sign off from something, log out from some things. And ACADS, so question really came down towards the end of the second year, when the GSEC nomination from the hostel, the GSEC position uh, comes up. That there was this position that there are, even within the seniors, there are different wings, and there were certain wings who wanted me to be the GSEC candidate, and there was obviously others who wanted some other another person maybe, but there was this position when I was asked, do you want to be the GSEC candidate? You've done 18 PTM activities for the second year, so you're on paper you're still eligible for being the GSEC candidate of Patel Hall. And so then was the really tough decision time for me. As on one side, I was always doing this kind of thing in high school, so it made sense for me to continue that. But in high school, I was never doing bad in ACADS, so there was not a question of dropping out. Here, there was this question that came up that, okay, now I might need to make a choice between pursuing, like just focusing more on ACADS, or going into the gymkhana more seriously, becoming either a GSEC candidate or eventually A-team, P-team head. I would be in the P-team. So that kind of decision point was there, and seniors who had vouched for you, who had sort of put in their faith on you, maybe argued with other seniors on for you, they are expecting, and I still love and respect those seniors. They want you to become. So I had to make that decision, that yes or no. Very binary, very tough. So then, yeah, that's
Then what was your decision?
yeah. Okay. So decision was to okay. So decision was eventually, after a lot of back and forth, there was I eventually said no. I'm going to step down from this potential of continuing in the gymkhana and basically
Wow.
not even be an A team, P team head, just step down completely and focus on ACAD. So you see the
Wow.
trajectory of being like the Kharagpur stud and ACADS
Then shutting
was
down. Hmm.
ACADS was actually considered very uncool at that time. There was the term on one side is stud, other side is magu. People who are
Yes.
just studying a lot. And actually, I think now with the focus on tech, or seeing that tech has so much value, I think ACADS is not considered that uncool anymore. But that back at that time,
Hmm.
2005, I would still say ACADS were not considered that cool. So I took the uncool decision at that time of going into ACADS, saying no to something that I really wanted actually also to continue, but I couldn't do both. I just realized I couldn't do both. So I chose
Hmm.
ACADS, and I think one thing that happened at that time was conversations with seniors and uh, friends at that time was interesting. Um, so I was in a dilemma for a long time what to do. I remember a few conversations with friends and seniors. So, one senior, he was not somebody I used to mix with regularly. And I was, at that time I was a little, down. I was under pressure of what decision to take. There's this expectation from the hall that, you should be my seniors who, really had put their faith in me. But then there's this personal pressure that I should also do well in ACADS. So once conversation I remember with a senior, and he was just randomly. I think I was walking down the hall corridor. He probably spotted that I was a little down. He asked me what's going on, and I said, "So this is I'm in this position. I know I should do this for the hall, but I can't do it." So then he said, Kriti, you just have to take a decision, and if even if it doesn't please a lot of people, if it's your decision, you have to take it. And then I think about it later that maybe he was also in a similar kind of boat at some time. He was not
Hmm.
famous in the hall for being a post holder or anything, but maybe he also gave up similar things. In maybe I don't know. I've never confirmed that with him, but it is quite possible. Anyway, so long story short, that I took the decision based on these kind of input that you have to take your own decision, and
Yes.
that's what happened.
So, how did you stick to your decision? I mean, it's difficult to go against the wishes of your bosses, seniors, and parents. That's how society has conditioned us. So, how difficult was it for you, or easy maybe? So, your peers must have looked down on you, or you must have felt that peer pressure, or the बोलते हैं ना कि एक्सपेक्टेशन का बोझ सीनियर से फ्रॉम एवरीवेयर तो कैसे मैनेज किया ये सब?
Okay, so yeah, so this is this idea of peer pressure, yeah, from society, that you should do what is expected of you, and this is too ingrained for me from my childhood. I was good at grade, good at in ACADS from high school naturally, and
Mhm.
my traditional upbringing, parents, there was this expectation that you would do things that had to be done, the right things. And when you went into college, in my position, the seniors are people you look up to, and you try to do things that they want of you. And similar thing for me before that in high school. I was mostly doing what my teachers wanted to do, uh, wanted me to do. So this thing being um, of being able to please the seniors, the people who are uh, with more, have more experience than you. This was natural to me. This came natural because there was no position, a really big position where they had to let people down.
Hmm.
So in this case, one technical thing is that my parents, actually being from Bengali background, they had this notion that accolades is the important thing. So parents wise, there was one side. Seniors wise, seeing my personality, seeing the way that yeah, I'm not purely an accolades type. I also have these interests. They wanted me to do this. So after I took the decision, it was actually, the seniors, I would say, they were sad for a bit of time, or a little like disappointed in the outcome,
Upset?
upset or disappointed in the outcome. But one nice thing happened, one lucky thing happened. So the guy who was the second, like the other choice, right? The person who became the
Huh.
GSEC. I'm sure there were people who wanted him to be the GSEC, and there are seniors who were voting, vouching for him from the get go only. So, obviously within the big batch of seniors, there are groups, right? So he was
Yeah.
somebody's favorite already. And then anyway, so ultimately the hall nominated him, and
Okay.
eventually he won, and he was brilliant. He was just he did amazing campaigning. He was very hardworking. He was like passionate, and I saw that I couldn't have given that much passion into the campaign because I was already so busy in my ads and everything. So when I saw that he did it that way, it made very clear that okay, this was right. And then he won. Then everybody forgets everything, right? Your hall, you're basically your hall is, I was letting down my hall. The hall was not, hall
Hmm.
didn't suffer any loss. He became the GSEC. The other two members of the four-member spring second year team, one became an A team head, another became a P team head. So there was no loss in any way. And the seniors, obviously they were happy. So there was no, actually, that pressure that I put on myself, that I'm letting down the hall, that completely
Hmm.
went away because the hall was happy. Then peers, my batchmates, they didn't care, right? They have their own struggles. They don't, they're busy with their own things. Most of the time, people in my batch were playing video games. So who cares about Springfest, A team, P team, watching good movies? Internet. Obviously, those were still earlier days of internet, and
Hmm.
watching good movies, reading good books. Then second, third year, you were busy in those things. Who cares about who goes to A team, P team, except those who are there? uh, you know they didn't really have any botheration. So it was, then ultimately it comes back to yourself, that are you happy with the decision, and how do you, what do you want with your life? So ultimately I realized that seniors wanted me, but when I said I can't do it, when I won't be able to do, even if I want to, I can't do it, they were respectful of the decision. They, you know eventually supported my decision, that okay, what, it's your call, it's your life. And that was, I think, the biggest learning, that you have to take decisions that might not please people. And given that this was not something that I had done that regularly in the past,
Hmm.
that was good learning. I mean, of course, I wish I could have been GSEC. Yeah, that is obviously there, right? I mean, that kind of aspiration, uh, one side of me feels that it would have been good to have been that position, but the other side is like, okay, I learned a nice lesson, that you can take decisions that many people don't agree with, and that is, it's in itself a great lifelong lesson.
Yeah, that's a lesson for me as well. Great lesson for me here, because you should say no to things you don't like. And it's difficult. It takes courage to say no, but it's very important, because now I see I have a pile of tasks, just because of this, that I don't say no to anyone. I should start working on this. Yeah. So now, when you look back at this incident, what is your feeling now?
Yeah.
Do you see it? So yeah, you just mentioned that you still feel that it would have been good to be a GSEC, but you still regret, or you still see it as a learning. What is your feeling now, after 15 years or 10 years?
Yeah, almost 15 years. Yeah.
15 years,
almost
yeah.
15 and plus years. I think the decision, yeah. So, when the things about decisions, it's some, again, self-help books. One second.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, on the topic of decisions, right? So, decisions, when you take them, you have a certain mindset. And then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, you obviously can think that, oh, well, I wish I had made another decision. But that actually, it is difficult to practice it in life. But if you read uh, either the self-help books, or even listen to spiritual gurus, or even just people, just listen to people, decisions have to be taken at that moment, and that is it. There is no there is no going back and changing decisions, right? And decisions are important. They actually shape your life a lot. So for me, I think one thing that I realized is it was the correct decision at that time. I was completely, even though there was this back and forth in my mind about what to do, I had to take a decision. And when I took the decision, it was, it felt right at that time. And there were, I think, a lot of repercussions of that. I actually was able to focus on my electronics work after that. I That led to my current state, where I am a PhD in medical imaging on very deep technologies. And I've worked with very amazing scientists in the world, including a Turing Award winner. I work in his company right now. So it is quite
Wow.
fascinating, the journey that decision took. And there are certain
Hmm.
things, there are pros and cons of everything. Yeah, certain things uh, that the other decision would have gotten me, but
Hmm.
at that time it was right, and it shaped the journey, and the journey is interesting, and you take it that way. And it
Yeah.
took me to places that I had actually not ever imagined. I actually never thought I would uh, be outside India, consider living outside India, never as a child. But my decision from that moment, I think, shaped me
Hmm.
towards working abroad. I still continue to. I'm currently in Hyderabad, but I still continue to work with my US company. And it is, I guess, the trajectory. Yeah, it is an interesting trajectory, and the journey is ongoing. One story that comes to mind. Um, it, this is about decisions, whether decisions are right or wrong. So there's this
Hmm.
Chinese story. They talk about luck, which but it's about whether something is good or bad, like labeled good or bad. So the story goes like this: there is a farmer who has a son, and suddenly, by some good fortune, they
Hmm.
they somehow get a donkey. And like at that time, a donkey is they're very poor. They've gotten this nice domestic animal, so everybody, their neighbors, are saying, what good luck you have, what good luck you have. So the farmer says, why do you say good luck? Then he's questioning. Then a few days later, the uh, the son, the farmer's son, sits on a donkey, goes somewhere, falls down, breaks his leg. So he's handicapped now, and so everybody comes in and says, "What bad luck? What bad luck?" So then the farmer says, "Why do you say bad luck?" Then he's questioning again why that thing. The few years later, there's a big war. Everybody's son is has to be sent um, to the war, and many
Wow.
people die. But the handicapped child, he doesn't have to go because he's handicapped. So then the everybody comes in and says, what good luck you have." So again, the farmer says, "Why do you say good luck?" So it's like continuing, right? You never know what's coming
Hmm.
up next, and this is
Yeah.
getting into very spiritual land, but. You really don't know what's right
Yeah.
and wrong and what's coming up next. You just try to go with the flow and keep progressing. Our
Yeah.
CEO says, onward and forward. When we have a loss in our company, like some deal that we didn't win, which is bad news, she says, okay, onward and forward. And if we have this big customer acquisition, great success, then also the same thing. It's like, just keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So बहुत सारी serious बातें हो गई. One light question. What was your favorite food? पटेल हॉल की कैंटीन होगी, राइट? होती है, आई नो. एवरी हॉस्टल हैज देयर ओन कैंटीन. क्या था मतलब सबसे फेवरेट फूड?
ओके.
क्या याद है
हाँ
आपको?
हाँ, ठीक है ठीक है, याद तो है ही. तो इवन लाइक राइट नाउ वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट डेजर्ट्स इज सूजी का हलवा. तो सूजी का हलवा दे वुड मेक इन द मेस वंस अ वीक आई थिंक, और वंस और ट्वाइस अ मंथ, विच वाज वेरी प्लेन, एकदम कम चीनी, मतलब घी तो आई डोंट थिंक दे वुड गिव घी, बट या सूजी का हलवा वाज मेड इन द हॉस्टल एंड आई वुड जस्ट devour that, and that suji ka halwa you will never get anywhere else. So it was
Okay.
quite awesome.
Okay. So let's talk about your present life now. You have achieved so many milestones, and I'm sure this attitude of saying no to things which you don't like must have helped you in your personal or professional journey so far. So please tell us about that.
Yeah, this thing actually I got a reiteration of this lesson from a boss that I worked with right after Kharagpur. I went to an Indian firm, and the head of technology in that location, he is actually an ex. He is again back at Kharagpur. He was ex KGP professor at that time. He was a head of technology at our office, again back to Kharagpur. So he actually again reiterated the same thing, that in his life, some of the most important things have come from saying no. So he was frank, and he just said, "I can't do this." Like saying, taking on a big project. So there were three offices: Kolkata, Bangalore, and Noida for our organization. So maybe some projects came, and he said, "No, we can't do it." It would sound bad, but he said no, and that would help the team grow, because if they just took on too much, that would not be correct. And then this was number one. Second was I went to the US, and in the US culture is very different. You don't have that hierarchy so set in stone. So, for example, when I worked with professors for my PhD, and most of the times you would talk with them on first name basis, and you were expected to actually challenge if you felt that something is not correct. You would say, "No, I don't think what you're saying is right." And just coming from a traditional Indian background, then Kharagpur, especially our interactions with professors, we would not have that attitude. And I just saw from my American colleagues during PhD, their attitude was completely different. They came with, they might not know a lot about the subject, but maybe they're just one part of it they knew. Or sometimes it was not technical knowledge. It was like, okay, no, this just cannot be done in this time frame. And it was not frowned upon. It was actually encouraged. So that was a great, again, confirmation that saying no is okay. It is in fact very valuable to say no at the right time, because it helps the organization to grow in a sustainable fashion, or even in life, not just company. Just being clear about what you can do.
True. Yeah, yeah. So before we wrap up today's episode, Kriti, one last question on behalf of our viewers, especially the students. So the technologies like AI and ML are going to be disruptive, and the debate is hot. This disruption will be positive or negative. What's your opinion? And for our students, please suggest some tool or advice so that they can be prepared for this AI ML world.
Okay, all right, interesting. And so let's take it again. The question was whether it will be disruptive in a positive or negative fashion. So, and AI ML are one of the technologies. And there are other things, like somebody might say cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, blockchain in general is the technology of the future. Somebody might say clean energy is the technology of the future. I think the question is not about disruption in positive or negative sense. The thing is that there is going to be a lot of change. There will be both positive and both negative. It is just bound to happen. And as engineers, and not all of us from IITs will continue to work in engineering space. We will work in different spaces, but there are going to be a lot of changes in the world. And just I think the main thing is to continue the, go with the flow a little bit, and also have certain uniquenesses about you that you can bring to the table. Just because AI/ML is hot, if everybody jumps onto AI/ML, then there will be lack in other spaces. So people should follow what comes from their heart. Again, try to be a little unique in your way of approaching the entire career and life. It's difficult. I mean, it's easy to say. It's difficult. We all tend to jump into bandwagons that are more profitable, and we obviously have to do that from time to time. But also the uniqueness, if we can maintain, it's good. It keeps the thing fresh. And you asked about tools. It's nowadays. I guess, again, specifically AI/ML world, I can speak to that from my experience, or big data world. It's just everything is available online for learning. There is nothing, no course, no professor or anything that you need to, just know one thing. You just continue learning, and it's fully self-learning method available there. And you could choose any way. It could be courses in Coursera, or participating in Kaggle competitions, or taking up good employment in a company that is working on these topics. Or in our case, nowadays startups are so common in India. We just formulate even your own startup and work on that. It is an amazing ecosystem right now in India to build your own startup. So just infinite possibilities are there. Disruption is obviously going to be there. And yeah, we are fortunate that we are continuously learning, right? As not just tech, and I'm not just saying tech. Even everybody, they're continuously updating themselves, figuring out how to service. Even in creative careers, you have to continually see how to make an impact, right?
Great. Yes. Thank you so much, Kriti, and it was wonderful talking to you. And thank you for all those wonderful advices. Thank you again. Yeah.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks for having me.